All right, so the scripture says, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. All right. Read verse 16, then give me Job 11:6.
Verse 16.
Come on.
Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow, and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee.
All right. Now, it is talking about the man and the woman, how the woman will be in servitude to the man, all right, and she'll have travail in childbirth. She'll have sorrows or pain during childbirth. Now, give me Job 11:6.
The book of Job, chapter 11, verse 6.
Come on.
And that he would show thee the secrets of wisdom.
So, once you start keeping God's commandments, studying, applying them in your household, all right, then the Most High will show you the secrets of wisdom. Read.
That they are double.
That they are what?
They are double.
Come on.
To that which is.
To that which is. So, you read something. Me and Officer Anadija was just going over that. A few examples of you read something face value in its context. In the history, that's what it's talking about. But in prophecy, it's also talking about something else. Okay, so let's go back and read it. Genesis 3, verse 15.
Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman.
Come on.
And between thy seed and her seed.
And between thy seed and her seed. Let's go to Genesis, the 25th chapter. Genesis chapter 25 and 25.
Genesis chapter 25, verse 25. And
start at 21.
Verse 21.
Come on.
And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was barren. And the Lord was entreated of him. And Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her.
All right, so conceive. What does conceive mean, brothers? By a show of hands. Brothers of core.
Like she got pregnant.
She got pregnant. Let's go to Leviticus, the 12th chapter, and let's read the first verse. All right? It's good. You always ask these questions because we read over these things, right? We want to make sure that we know exactly what it's talking about. And secondly, we want to be able to prove these things, okay? So write this down. This is the precept for conception, okay? Read what you got.
Leviticus chapter 12, verse 1.
Come on.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a woman have conceived seed.
If a woman have conceived seed, meaning what? A man and a woman actually lied down together, and the man actually did what? The seed of copulation actually came out unto her. She conceived it. Once she conceives that seed, what then happens?
And born a man-child.
And born a man-child, meaning what? She's now impregnated with a child. Now, from there, give me Ruth chapter 4, verse 13 for an example of what conception is. All right, so let's get an example. We got the precept. Let's get an actual example in the history. Ruth chapter 4 and verse 13.
Ruth chapter 4, verse 13.
Come on.
So Boaz took Ruth.
Okay, so Boaz is a man. Ruth the Moabite. Y'all know the history, okay? Boaz took Ruth. What tribe was Boaz from? Judah. So a Judite took a Moabite. Now, you know what? I'm not going to go into that because I'm going to take us somewhere else. That'll be another. Okay, we might go into it because now people are like, oh, hold on. Ain't that? All right, read it. Just read it again. Sheesh.
Ruth chapter 4, verse 13. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife.
Come on.
And when he went in unto her.
So when they had sex, read.
The Lord gave her conception.
The Lord gave her conception. I'll touch it in two scriptures, just in case y'all are not familiar with the history and why the Most High God allowed this to happen. Now, I want to show you something. Give me Matthew, the first chapter. Watch this.
The book of Matthew, chapter 1, verse 1.
Come on.
The book of the generation of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Verse 5.
All right, so read it again from the top.
The book of the generation of Jesus Christ.
So we're reading the genealogy of our Lord and Savior Jesus the Christ, okay? Read verse 5.
Verse 5.
Read.
And Solomon begot Boaz.
Boaz, read.
of Rechab, and Boaz begot Obed of Ruth.
So, Boaz begot Obed of who?
Of Ruth.
Now read verse 16.
Verse 16.
Come on.
And Jacob begat Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom was born Jesus, who is called Christ.
So guess what? Christ had a foremother, great foremother, who was a Moabite, who are the so-called Chinese today. Now, why did this happen? Why did the Most High God allow this to happen? Now, let's go back to the book of Ruth, chapter 4 and verse 10. Sorry. Go to Deuteronomy 25 and 6 first. Then we're going to go to Ruth. All right? We got to read the law first. Why the Most High God allowed this to happen?
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 25, verse 5. If brethren dwell together.
So it says, if brethren dwell together, read.
And one of them die.
So for example, let's just say me and David had the same mother, the same father. One of us passed away. Read.
And have no child.
Let's say I passed away. I had no children. All right. Let's say he was single. Okay. Come on.
The wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger.
Come on.
Her husband's brother shall go in unto her.
Read that part again.
Her husband's brother shall go in unto her.
Read.
And take her to him to wife.
Come on.
And perform the duty of an husband's brother unto her.
The duty of a husband's brother is to do what? Have seed, to carry on his lineage. The brother who passed away. That's what the law says. Now, let's go to the book of Ruth, the first chapter.
Ruth chapter 1 verse 1. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land, and a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab.
Went to sojourn in the country of Moab. Come on.
He and his wife and his 2 sons.
Read.
And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah. And they came into the country of Moab and continued there. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died.
All right.
And she was left, and her 2 sons.
Read.
And they took him, and they took them wives of the woman of Moab.
And they did what?
And they took them wives of the woman of Moab.
All right. So these brothers took them wives of the women of Moab. All right. Read.
The name of the one was Orpha, and the name of the other Ruth. And they dwelled there about 10 years.
So you're like, hold on. Okay, I hear you, but that's still not okay to do. According to what? Deuteronomy 7th chapter, right? Now, go to the book of Judges, last chapter, last verse. Judges chapter 21, verse 25.
Judges chapter 21, verse 25.
Come on.
In those days.
So at this time, in this time period, read.
There was no king in Israel.
Read.
Every man did that which was right in his own eyes.
Every man did that which was right in his own eyes. Now, give me Deuteronomy. Hold Ruth. Coming right back, brothers and sisters. Give me Deuteronomy chapter 21 and verse 10. Now, there is a law that we're about to read about when you go to war, when you're in another country. The Most High God granted our men an occasion to do this, okay? So we must study the scriptures precept upon precept. Read this.
Deuteronomy chapter 21 verse 10.
Come on.
When thou goest forth to war against thine enemies, and the Lord thy God hath delivered them into their hands, and thou hast taken them captive, and seest among the captives a beautiful woman.
And do what?
Seest among the captives a beautiful woman.
So if you are conquering another land, are they your people?
No, sir.
Who are they? They're heathens of the other nations. They're outside of your people. Read.
And has a desire unto her.
And has a what?
A desire unto her.
Come on.
That thou wouldest have her to thy wife.
Read.
Then thou shalt bring her home to thine house.
Come on.
And she shall shave her head. And
that just means to show subjection. That's all it means. Read.
And pare her nails.
Come on.
And she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her. And shall remain in thine house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month. And after that thou shalt go in unto her, and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife.
Y'all understand that? So only on this occasion, the Most High God allowed that thing. Okay. Now let's go back to Ruth chapter 1. Read verse 4. We'll read on down.
Ruth chapter 1 verse 4.
Come on.
And they took them wives of the women of Moab. The name of one was Orpha, and their name of the other Ruth. And they dwelled there about 10 years.
Mahlon and Chilion died also both of them. And the woman was left of her 2 sons and her husband. So what just occurred, brothers? Who's following? I'll read it again and I'll ask you the question. Pay attention. Verse 5. It says, and Mahlon and Chilion died, also both of them. And the woman was left of her 2 sons and her husbands. So what just took place? Brother DeMar.
Both of the brother died, so the other one couldn't go into the wife to carry on the legacy.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Now, let's go to Ruth chapter 4, and I'll read from 1 down to 5. All right, follow me. This is the book of Ruth chapter 4, verse 1. It says, then went Boaz up to the gate and sat him down there. And behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by, unto whom he said, ho, such a one, turn aside, sit down here. And he turned aside and sat down. And he took men of the elders of the city and said, sit ye down here. And they sat down. And he said unto the kinsman, Naomi, that is come again out of the country of Moab, selleth a parcel of land which was our brother Elamech's. And I thought to advertise thee, saying, buy it before the inhabitants and before the elders of my people, if thou wilt redeem it. Redeem it, but if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know, for there is none to redeem it beside thee. And I am after thee. And he said, I will redeem it. What is he talking about? Just like the brother just said. There was nobody else because the brothers died. Nobody else could fulfill the brother's role. So Boaz, he was their kinfolk. He was their cousin. So knowing that both brothers died, he knew he had to be the one to follow Deuteronomy 25th chapter. You understand that? Yes, sir. Okay, verse 5. It says, then said Boaz, what day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess. So if you're going to buy his property, you also have to buy his wife. You gotta do that. You gotta fulfill the whole law. The wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, according to the law. Y'all follow? Yes, sir. All right. So let's go to Ruth chapter 4 and verse 10. Read that, Jediah.
Ruth chapter 4 verse 10.
Come on.
Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife.
Has he done what?
I purchased to be my wife.
Come on.
To raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance.
Read.
That the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren. And from the gate of his place ye are witnesses this day.
All right. So we had a mini class in a question. So good. Let's go back to Genesis 25 and 21. Yeah, 25 and 21. Don't forget the original question. Bruise the head. All right, Genesis 3:15. All right, let's read this.
Genesis chapter 25, verse 21.
Come on.
And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was barren, and the Lord was entreated of him. And Rebekah his wife conceived.
Read.
And the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord.
Come on.
And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger.
Read.
And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb.
Come on.
And the first came out red all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau.
Stop. So it says the first child came out red all over like a hairy garment. Bring up this precept all the time. It's called the so-called white man because he's really what color? Red. He's actually red according to the scriptures. All right. And it said they called his name Esau. He came out first. Read on.
Verse 26.
Come on.
And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel.
Wait, read that part again.
And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel.
His hand took hold on Esau's heel. Read.
And his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them.
And as you can see, they didn't describe what Jacob looked like because he looked like everybody else on the face of the earth. Everybody was dark skinned at that time. Now, go back to Genesis 3, verse 15. Going into the heel and bruising of the head.
Genesis chapter 3, verse 15.
Come on.
And I will put enmity between thee and the woman.
All right, so when it says put enmity between thee and the woman, give me Jeremiah 6 and 2. Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 2. So you can understand what it means when it says the woman. Is it just talking about Eve and the women to come after? Let's find out.
Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 2.
Come on.
I have likened the daughter of Zion.
The daughter of who?
The daughter of Zion.
Zion is another name for what, man? Israel, Jerusalem. Actually, Jerusalem. All right? Read it again.
I have likened the daughter of Zion to a comely and delicate woman.
To a kindly and delicate what?
Woman.
Let's go back to Genesis 3 and verse 15.
Genesis chapter 3, verse 15.
Come on.
And I will put enmity between thee and...
Between thee, which is the righteous seed. I'm sorry. Between thee, which is Esau, and what?
And the woman.
And the woman, which is Israel. All right. Where did we read about that? We read it in Genesis 25. When it said there would be two nations. They were struggling in the womb. Okay. Read verse 15 again.
Verse 15. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed.
Between thy seed and her seed. All right. So there will always be clashing going on between these two nations. Read.
It shall bruise thy head.
It shall bruise thy head, because think about it. Esau came out first, and Jacob came out holding his heel. So the head was in Jacob's head, and Jacob's hand was on Esau's what? Yeah. So read that verse again.
And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head.
Come on.
And thou shalt bruise his heel.
All right. So give me that in Esdras. Esau's the end. Give me that real quick. Then give me Revelation chapter 12, verse 1.
The book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 6, verse 9.
Come on.
For Esau is the end of the world.
So it says Esau's the end of the world. Read.
And Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth.
That followeth. That followeth. Remember, Esau came out first. Jacob is the nation that will follow. Okay? Now, from there, give me Revelations 12 and 1. Everybody follow? Okay, good, good. Bishop go over this all the time.
Revelation chapter 12, verse 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun.
All right, so it says, there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon. Simply means this, write this down. That woman is Israel. When it says clothed with sun and the moon, it's talking about the laws. Proverbs 6 and 23, the law is light. That's what it's talking about. Read on.
And the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars.
How many?
12 stars.
Hold this. Follow me. Give me Sirach, Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 44 and verse 21.
The book of Sirach, chapter 44, verse 21.
Come on.
Therefore, he assured him by an oath that he would bless the nations in his seed, and that he would multiply him as the dust of the earth, and exalt his seed as the stars.
And exalt his what?
And exalt his seed as the stars.
And exalt his seed as the stars.
With Isaac did he establish likewise, for Abraham his father's sake, the blessing of all men and the covenant.
Read.
And made it rest upon the head of Jacob. He acknowledged him in his blessing, and gave him an heritage, and divided his portions among the 12 tribes did he part them.
Amongst who?
The 12 tribes did he part them.
So the stars are referring to who?
12 tribes.
Let's go back to Revelations 12 and 1.
The book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 1.
Come on.
And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars.
Come on.
And she begin with child
No,
cry-
she being with child.
and she being with child cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered.
Come on.
And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon.
A what?
A great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads.
All right. Hold that. Give me that in, was it Job 30? Yeah, 30 and 29. Keep in mind the context. Remember, Esau and Jacob were what? They were brothers. They were brothers. And they enemies too, because there's enmity between those brothers. Let's see what the Bible says. Job chapter 30, verse 29.
The book of Job, chapter 30, verse 29. I am a brother to dragons.
Read it again.
I am a brother to dragons.
Revelations 12 and 3.
Revelation chapter 12, verse 3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon.
And it tells you what this what the dragon would look like. Esau was what color? Red. So our brother was a red dragon. Revelations 12 and 3 again.
Revelation chapter 12, verse 3.
Come on.
And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads.
Having what?
7 heads.
Come on.
And 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head.
All right. Who can tell us who the 7 heads are? Soldier Daniel? You got it? Okay. Because think about Esau's kingdom. All right. It's telling you who they are. All right. Soldier, you're on.
You had Greece, Rome, Spain, France, Germany, Russia, and Great Britain.
Very good. He good. All right. Read verse 3 all the way through again.
Revelation chapter 12, verse 3.
Come on.
And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads.
Stop. That's just showing their kingdoms. Showing their kingdoms. Come on.
And 10 horns.
The 10 common markets, also known as what? NATO, European Union. Okay, come on.
And 7 crowns upon his heads.
Read.
And his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth.
Come on.
And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born.
It says, cast us to earth. Give me Lamentations. Give me chapter 2 and verse 1.
Lamentation chapter 2, verse 1. How hath the Lord covered the daughter of Zion?
How has the Lord covered the daughter of Zion? Come on.
With a cloud in his anger.
Read.
And cast down from heaven.
Cast down from the kingdom. Okay, rulership. Read.
Onto the earth.
Until what?
Onto the earth.
Unto the earth. Let's go back to Revelations chapter 12 and verse 4.
Revelation chapter 12, verse 4.
Come on.
And his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth.
Read.
And the dragon stood before the woman.
And the dragon stood before Israel. Read.
Which was ready to be delivered.
Which was ready to be delivered. Now it actually condenses it. Who knows what this is going into? Let me hear Aaron.
It's going into the return of Christ.
Right. This is going into Mary being pregnant with Christ. This is going into Mary being pregnant with Christ. All right, read on.
For to devour her child as soon as it was born.
All right, let's get that. Matthew, the 2nd chapter.
Matthew chapter 2, verse 13. And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise and take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word. For Herod will seek the young child to destroy him.
For Herod, we just had a class last week. We had a Q&A last week. Who is Herod? What seed is that? Let me Brother Simon. What seed is Herod from?
Edom.
Edom. From which sect? What sect?
Amalek.
Good. All right. So let's read on.
Arise and take the young child and his mother and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word. For Herod will seek the young child to destroy him.
It says, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. Let's go back to Revelations 12 and 4.
Revelation chapter 12 verse 4. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And when the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered.
So what was this dragon's name? What was this dragon's name? Herod. Herod. Read.
For to devour her child.
Who was her child? Christ. Read.
As soon as it was born.
Why? Why would Herod want to do that? Brother Losias, right behind you.
Because he was going to be the king of the Jews?
Right, because they understood the scriptures. They understood he was going to be the governor. The government would sit on his shoulders. They understood that. So there's like they had to do any and everything to prevent that from happening. Just like today, they try to take out a quote-unquote black messiah. That's what COINTELPRO was all about. So we're reading about COINTELPRO in Matthew the 2nd chapter, Revelations 12, Genesis the 3rd chapter. You follow me? Yes, sir. All right, let's read on.
Verse 5. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto God.
Psalms 2 and 8. And then Hebrews 9 and 24. All right, Psalms 2 and 8.
The book of Psalms, chapter 2, verse 8.
Read.
Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron.
Thou shalt what?
Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron.
Read.
Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel.
So when we read the book of Psalms, who wrote Psalms? Who wrote Psalms? King David, right? Now check this out. 1 Peter's 1 and 10. 1 Peter's chapter 1 and verse 10.
The book of 1 Peter, chapter 1, verse 10.
Read.
Of which salvation the prophets have inquired and searched diligently, who prophesied of the grace that should come unto you.
It said, who prophesied of the grace that shall come unto you. Who was that grace? Who's that? Christ, right? Verse 11.
Searching what? Or what manner of time? The Spirit of Christ, which was in them.
Read that part again. The what?
The Spirit of Christ, which was in them.
So when we read Psalms 2, 8, and 9, who was speaking? Christ. Christ was speaking. Read it again, verse 11.
Verse 11.
Come on.
Searching what? Or what manner of time? The Spirit of Christ, which was in them.
Psalm 40 and 7.
The book of Psalms, chapter 40, verse 7. Then said I, lo, I come in the volume of the book.
He just said I. But who wrote it? King David wrote it, but he said I. So it shows what? Christ spoke through the prophets. You understand that? Right. Read Psalms 2 and 8 again.
Psalms chapter 2 verse 8.
Come on.
Acts of me.
Ask of who?
Acts of me.
He's saying me. That's him right there again. That's Christ right there again. Read.
Acts of me. And I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance.
That's not King David speaking right there. That's Christ. That's Revelations 22, 25, 26. He says, I will give you the heathen for an inheritance. Right. Read.
And the uttermost parts of the earth.
Come on.
For thy possession.
Read.
Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces.
Let's go back to Revelations 12 and 5.
Revelation chapter 12 verse 5.
Come on.
And she brought forth a man-child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron.
Come on.
And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne.
Hebrews chapter 9 verse 24. It says her son was caught up. Let's see who her son was.
Hebrews chapter 9 verse 24.
Come on.
For Christ is not entered into the holy places made with hands, which are the figures of the true.
Read.
But into heaven.
But into what?
But into heaven.
Come on.
Itself. Now to appear in the presence of God for us.
To appear in the presence of who?
Of God for us.
Let's go back. Revelations chapter 12. We at 5. 12 and 5. Let's go back.
Revelation chapter 12 verse 5.
Come on.
And she brought forth a man-child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto God.
Unto who?
Unto God.
Read.
And to his throne.
Read on.
And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days.
All right. I want to jump down to get to the point. Shucks. Jump up to 12. Revelation 12 and 12.
Revelation chapter 12 verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you,
Come on.
having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time.
Knoweth he have a short time. This goes into the bruising of the head, okay? Through slavery, Jim Crow. All right, all of these labels that have been placed on us, all of these laws that keep us on the short end and never allow us to rise up. That is the hand of our enemies. That's that enmity between thy seed and his seed. That's what is going into bruising the head. Read on.
Verse 13.
Come on.
And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child.
Read.
And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time.
So right now is that time. We're being nourished by the hands of our oppressors. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse, was it 46 on down? Let's read that real quick. When it says we're nourished in the want of all things, when it comes to clothing, food, shelter, where are we getting that from, man? Our enemies.
Right.
And which country is that? Mainly America. All right? All right, read that.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 46.
Come on.
And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies,
That shall serve thine enemies. Read.
which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck, until he hath destroyed thee.
So we are getting everything from our enemies. Even when we try to come up, we still have to go to them for loans. If we pass away, death certificates, whatever it may be. I just had a son. I got to go to them for a social security card. It's foolishness. We go to them for everything, okay? Revelations 12 and 14 again.
Revelation chapter 12, verse 14. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle.
The great eagle's going into the Greco-Roman Empire. That's what represents the 2. The Greco-Roman Empire. Read.
That she might fly into the wilderness.
70 AD. When we fled into Africa, the wilderness represents Africa. Come on.
Into her place, where she is nourished for
Transatlantic slave trade. Okay, we are now scattered on the western part of the world. And where we were what?
where she is nourished for a time, and times, and half a time, from the face of the serpent.
From the face of the serpent. It's showing you where you would get it from. Come on.
And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman.
That water is going into different doctrines. All right. Media. All right. They're casting out water as a flood to do what? To bruise our head, to destroy our minds. All right. To get us away from the true understanding of this Bible. Read.
That he might cause her to be carried away of the flood.
So when Christ do come back, we get destroyed. We don't get the kingdom. Read.
And the earth helped the woman.
The nation. I'm sorry. Continue. Read that again.
And the earth helped the woman.
Read.
And the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood, which the dragon cast out of his mouth.
Read.
And the dragon was wroth with the woman.
The dragon was what?
The dragon was wroth with the woman.
Read.
And went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which kept the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ.
All right, so just because we woke up and have the understanding of who we are as Israelites, that doesn't mean the persecution. Just for example, today, we was at camp. You had Jake's over there being wicked, dancing in the street, doing a little fundraiser. They in the streets, but as soon as we go out to the streets to give a flyer to somebody in a car, the police come up and tell us that we can't do it. So understand, just because we keeping God's commandments, that doesn't mean that they still ain't going to try to persecute us. They did the same thing to our forefathers. They'll do the same thing to us. So let's go back to Genesis 3, verse 15.
The book of Genesis, chapter 3, verse 15. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel.
Right. All right. You understand that? All right, good.
Now they will see the true men of God. We are not black men, we are the Israelites. That's right. Take care of us. Take care of us. And our children too. And our children too. We have repented. We have repented. How are you? How are you? People want to know who's the king.
O nation of Israel, it's time to return to the Father. O nation of Israel, it's time to return to the Father.
Now why they trying to make it so hard to serve God? And why when I say that I'm a Jew it sound odd? For years I've been walking around saying that I'm a black man. I ain't saying that no more, it sounds wrong, man.
This is Bishop Nathaniel of Israel United in Christ. Please subscribe to our YouTube channels. Stay up to date with our latest events, music, and classroom lessons. IUIC plans to continue visiting different countries where this gospel has not been preached before. IUIC needs your help in pushing this truth. So join us. Subscribe to our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and podcasts, and stay up to date with us. For more information, please visit www.israelunite.org.